The mess from the Ponyville pie fight had been cleaned up, the sun had set, and the quiet of night finally settled over the little town. Twilight, Sparkle and Spike made their way to their temporary home, the Golden Oak Library Tree. Inside the library, Twilight stepped out of the back room, where she had just finished cleaning the last traces of pie filling from her mane and tail. She was methodically brushing her now damp hair when she noticed the noise building just outside the main library window. She dropped the hairbrush, startled by the sight that greeted her. A crowd of ponies gathered right outside the treehouse. "What is going on here?" she asked, a note of panic rising in her voice as she quickly approached Spike, who was relaxing on the lower level. Spike simply smiled, gesturing to the happy crowd visible through the windows. "It's a party. A welcome party for us staying here inside the library." Sure enough, the full switched 5 were all present and accounted for. Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Applejack all looking very happy and excited to be there. Rarity, the tough, tomboyish unicorn with the raw magic and the black cloud cutie mark, looked at Twilight with new respect visible in her short purple/yellow/green highlighted mane. The earlier duel had established a unique kind of bond. To Rarity, Twilight wasn't just a stuffy, schooled magic user anymore, she was a worthy rival. The 5 approached the newcomers inside the library. "Glad you two could make it," Applejack said with a wide smile, tipping her hat. "We wanted to make sure you felt welcome," added a bubbly Pinkie Pie, balancing slightly. But Twilight wasn't prepared for this level of socialization. She began to protest, trying to get a word in over the cheerful chatter from what others were already considering friends. "But we're not going to stay. I mean, Princess Celestia only sent me here to handle the logistics for the..." "Oh, who cares? Fluttershy got everything all under control with that, you two are the guest honor," Pinkie Pie shouted bluntly, cutting her off. Every pony started talking at once, asking Twilight and Spike questions about their home and the princess. The noise level rose rapidly as Fluttershy organized the guests. The chaos was overwhelming the organized unicorn mare. Twilight sighed deeply, feeling her logical brain short-circuiting. In her flustered state, she accidentally took a large swig from an unlabeled bottle left on a side table. The same hilarious visual gag from the original TV show. She bolted inside a panic, gasping for air, leaving the small group of new friends mildly bewildered as the party continued. So everything happens the same as in the TV show. It is when Nightmare Moon shows up. This made Rainbow Dash, element of kindness, protective of others, and Rarity, guardian of Ponyville, try to immediately attack. Nightmare Moon escaped the same way. As the tomboy Rarity immediately took command, her voice cutting through the panic as she loudly demanded they form a defensive perimeter, prioritizing the safety of every pony nearby. Pinkie Pie began ushering the panicked fillies toward cover, her usual cheerfulness replaced by grim determination. Rainbow Dash, however, felt a tightness in her chest. The sight of Twilight's erratic magic flared up against the backdrop of her own protective instincts. She knew Twilight was keeping Spike away, and her mounting frustration over the situation made her temper dangerously short, blurring her judgment in the moment of crisis. Rainbow Dash wasn't really listening to Rarity's commands. She still noticed the two newcomers Twilight and Spike running off. When Rarity noticed the Pegasus flying away, she called out, "Rainbow Dash," while trying to aggressively follow. As the other 3 friends Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Fluttershy saw what happened, they glanced at each other, unsure of how to assist. Back at the library treehouse, Spike is sleeping as Twilight is anxiously looking at all the books. Dash came out of nowhere, making Twilight quickly back up. The initial conversation is the same, until powerful, raw magic pulled the struggling Pegasus away. It turned out to be Rarity. Pinkie Pie, the Earth Pony with the element of honesty, stepped in between them and flatly stated she didn't believe the current situation warranted a fight at all. Rainbow Dash somewhat calmed down and allowed herself to be put down since Pinkie never lies, always delivering the blunt truth. Applejack and Fluttershy agreed and wanted to know what was going on. Twilight told them everything she knew but couldn't find the needed book. AJ, element of generosity, former city girl, knew exactly where it was and pulled it out. When Twilight asks how she knew, Salty Rainbow explained, Pinkie Pie always comes here looking for how to make things, and Rarity does as well with magic. They learned that the element of harmony was located at the edge of the Everfree Forest. As they reached the daunting entrance, Twilight paused, looking back at the group. Do any of you want to turn back? It was a unanimous no, and the main six tentatively walked in. The eerie quiet was broken when a gnarled, spooky tree startled the group. But Fluttershy, Laughter, Pegasus, immediately started laughing it off, her subdued, quiet giggles shining a light on the silly fear. The others, catching her mood, followed suit. Rainbow Dash, Kindness, Pegasus, was entirely unfazed by the gloomy woods, feeling right at home in the environment where she once met her friendly companion, Tim the Timber Wolf. Further in, a path suddenly crumbled, and they nearly tumbled off a cliff edge. In a flash of raw, untamed power, Rarity, Loyalty, Unicorn used her magic to teleport everyone to safety. She saved the others but, in the chaos, realized she missed Twilight, who was now hanging from the crumbling ledge. Rarity, quickly! Again, the girls urged. Rarity, however, was hitting her limit. She staggered, completely exhausted from a lack of sleep. Seeing Rarity's struggle, Pinkie Pie, Honesty, Earth Pony, didn't hesitate. She quickly scrambled down a safer slope toward Twilight. Applejack, Generosity, Earth Pony, ever the practical city girl, ripped a decorative ribbon from her own tail bow and lassoed Pinkie's tail, ensuring they were secured. While Twilight clung desperately to the edge, Pinkie reached her, with the last of her physical strength. Do you trust me? Pinkie asked. Her usual bubbly tone replaced with blunt honesty. Twilight was confused by the odd request. She thought about it for a second before saying yes. Pinkie Pie nodded. You need to let go. I promised everything will be fine. Trusting Pinkie's word, Twilight released her grip and began to fall. She was immediately swooped up by the two Pegasus, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. Fluttershy struggled momentarily. She was used to lifting party-going kids, not fully grown unicorns. Once Twilight was secure, the other three found a safer way down to regroup with everyone. Suddenly, a Manticore attacked the group. Every pony else froze in fear, but Rainbow Dash, Kindness, Pegasus, remained unfazed. Comfortable in the untamed environment where she'd met her timber wolf friend, she flew with dazzling speed around the Manticore's large claws, gently removing a painful splinter. The great beast instantly calmed, transformed by a simple act of kindness. A little further on, they encountered a rushing river, and Stephen Magnet appeared, crying that he had lost his mustache. Just like in the show, after a brief discussion, the girls worked together and used a piece of Applejack's mane and a ribbon to fashion a replacement. Stephen, grateful for their generosity, allowed all six to cross the water on his back, just as in the original tale. They soon found the old princess sister's ruined castle. No pony was eager to cross the decaying bridge. Applejack, Generosity, Earth Pony, volunteered to test its structural integrity, as she was the largest of the group. The bridge immediately snapped under her weight, but she quickly backed away before falling in. The next plan relied on the two magic users, Rarity and Twilight, working in tandem to magically secure the ancient bridge. Just as they began, a thick, unnatural fog rolled in, instantly halting Twilight's magic and grounding the Pegasus. The friends tried to call out to Rarity, but the mist muffled their voices, leaving them unable to help. Three bad unicorns emerged from the mist, a cool, intimidating gang Rarity had always wanted to join. Rarity faced a stark dilemma: help her vulnerable friends, or seize her chance to join the clique she admired. Rarity thought hard, a flicker of sadness crossing her tomboy features, and finally replied, "Fine." The three gang members exchanged evil, happy grins, but their faces dropped when Rarity continued, "Thanks for the offer, but my friends need me more." The cool unicorn gang vanished into the fog. Rarity and Twilight successfully worked together to secure the bridge, and everyone crossed safely. Once they regrouped, Twilight finally asked Rarity, "Why didn't you run off with them?" Rarity simply shrugged, a fiercely loyal look in her eyes. "Can't just leave my friends hanging there all night." That answer made Twilight pause and think for a moment as they continued following the others toward the castle. Inside the old princess sisters' ruined castle, the main six entered the ancient throne room. In the center of the room sat 5 large stone orbs, the elements of harmony. Suddenly, a swirling purple mist separated Twilight from the rest of the group. In a different tower, Nightmare Moon stood before Twilight, laughing as she effortlessly shattered the 5 stone orbs. Twilight gasped, the mission seemed a failure. But then she heard her friends calling from below, and she realized the truth. The elements were never the stones. They were her friends. Twilight turned to Nightmare Moon, declaring who represented which element. Fluttershy is Laughter, who had quietly planned parties and laughed off a scary tree, felt fragments of a stone orb float around her. Pinkie Pie is Honesty, who always spoke her blunt truth, watched the fragments circle her. Rainbow Dash is Kindness, the athletic Pegasus who non-violently stared down animals and saved the Manticore, was encircled by the essence of her element. Applejack is Generosity, the city girl who gave up her tail, hair and ribbon without a second thought, felt the pull of her element. And Rarity is Loyalty, the tough tomboy who turned down her dream gang for her friends, was surrounded by the final fragments. And when all the elements are ignited by the spark that resides in the heart of us all, that's when the 6th element comes into play, the element of magic. The 5 friends were instantly wearing jeweled necklaces matching their cutie marks, and a 6th sparkling crown appeared on Twilight's head. The 6 ponies were lifted into the air, connected by a powerful, rainbow-colored magic. The double helix of friendship energy enveloped Nightmare Moon in a blinding light. When the light faded, Princess Luna stood in Nightmare Moon's place, blinking in the sudden sunrise. Princess Celestia appeared, floating gently down to reconcile with her sister after 1,000 years. The aftermath, Ponyville. Back in Ponyville, Fluttershy threw a massive party. Princess Luna was finally getting all the love and attention she ever wanted. As the celebration wound down, Princess Celestia offered Twilight the chance to return to Canterlot. Twilight looked at her new friends, the honest baker, the generous farm girl, the kind athlete, the loyal rocker, and the cheerful party planner. Twilight wanted to stay with her new friends, and Celestia agreed, giving her a new mission, to continue studying the magic of friendship right here in Ponyville. The end.